All right, so today we're going deep on the 2020 Sonic the Hedgehog movie.
Yeah, this one,
We've got a ton of different perspectives on it.
big one.
Everything from the initial reactions and
Huge, yeah.
how it landed with the audiences to what went on behind the scenes.
Yeah, and we're talking about a movie based on a massive video game franchise.
Oh, yeah.
And those can go so many different ways.
Absolutely.
We've seen it all.
Yeah, and I'm sure you remember when those first trailers dropped with Sonic's original design.
Oh, yeah.
And the internet just went,
it was not good.
no, it was not pretty.
No.
But, what's interesting is that director Jeff Fowler actually took to Twitter and announced that they were going to redesign Sonic.
Wow.
And that actually pushed the release from Thanksgiving 2019 all the way to Valentine's Day 2020.
That's a big move.
Huge move.
Yeah.
And, the response to the new design was overwhelmingly positive.
Yeah, and that's not something you see every day.
No.
A studio actually listening to the fans.
And making such a drastic change. I mean,
Yeah, like a full redesign.
that says a lot.
Yeah, it really does. It shows that they care about what the fans think.
Absolutely. So for those of you who haven't seen this blue blur in action, the basic plot is Sonic's this alien hedgehog who,
Sure, speed.
super speed, he's hiding out on Earth near Green Hills, Montana.
Small town.
Small town, yeah. But then he accidentally causes this, massive power outage, and it gets the attention of the Pentagon.
Uh-oh.
Right, and they call in Dr. Robotnik to investigate.
Of course they do.
Of course they do. And Sonic ends up teaming up with the local sheriff, Tom Wachowski.
Good guy, Tom.
Yeah, to evade Robotnik. And they got to recover his lost rings, which are important.
Very important.
Yeah, they let him travel between worlds.
Exactly.
And those rings have ended up in San Francisco somehow.
Classic.
So, all right, let's get into those initial its impressions.
All right, so first up, we've got the folks who absolutely loved it. They called it enjoyable fun, even their favorite video game movie of that time, because it was simpler and easier to follow.
I could see that.
Yeah, straight to the point.
Yeah.
Then on the other hand, we have the people who weren't so thrilled.
Okay.
One person said bad CGI and worse scripting. Pretty disappointing, even awful.
Ouch.
They said the Sonic in the movie didn't feel like the Sonic from the games, and they weren't a fan of Jim Carrey's performance either.
So a complete miss for them.
Pretty much.
Wow. But even with those criticisms, some reviewers said it exceeded their expectations.
Yeah, a pleasant surprise.
Yeah, I think that redesign really made a difference.
Absolutely. And also, a lot of people said, it's a fun movie if you just turn your brain off.
Yeah.
Just enjoy the ride.
Exactly. Now, one of the big things in the movie is the relationship between Sonic and Tom the Sheriff.
The buddy pop dynamic.
Yeah. What did people think about that?
Well, they loved the chemistry between Sonic, voiced by Ben Schwartz, and Tom, played by James Marsden.
Yeah. I mean, they did a good job with it.
They really sold it. Some reviewers even said James Marsden was a refreshing lead, really grounded the movie.
But were there any parts of their friendship that felt off to people?
Yeah, a few folks said some of the emotional moments felt a bit forced.
Like which ones?
Like when Sonic says goodbye early on and the whole bucket list thing.
Oh, yeah, I see that.
It didn't quite mesh with the rest of the movie's tone.
Yeah, sometimes those emotional beats can feel a little out of place if they're not done just right.
Right, and how about that nickname Sonic gives Tom?
Donut Lord.
Donut Lord. Some people were not feeling that one.
Really?
They thought it was try hard and not that funny, even when it came back later as a bonding thing.
I guess humor is so subjective.
Totally. One person's hilarious is another person's eye roll.
Exactly. All right, so let's talk about the big patty Dr. Robotnik, played by the one and only Jim Carrey.
Oh, yeah.
His performance got a lot of attention. What was the general consensus?
Lots of love for Jim Carrey. People call it vintage Carrey, hilarious, awesome. He really went all out with the over-the-top goofiness.
Yeah, I mean, that's what he does best.
Right?
Yeah.
He even improvised some stuff like that dance scene and suggested the song Where Evil Grows.
Wow.
Talk about dedication.
So he really made the role his own.
Absolutely, but not everyone was on board.
Really?
Yeah, one reviewer said it was like a flashback to his early 90s overacting and thought the writing for the character was weak.
Oh, interesting.
They said his scenes felt like separate slapstick bits, almost disconnected from the Sonic and Tom stuff.
Yeah, I can see that.
So it seems like you either loved his performance or found it a little much.
Yeah, it's Jim Carrey.
Exactly. Now, let's not forget, this is a video game movie.
Right.
And those haven't always had the best track record.
No, they have not.
So how did Sonic do in terms of bringing the games to the big screen?
Yeah, I mean, we've seen some real flops in that genre.
Big time.
Like the Super Mario Brothers movie.
Oh, yeah.
That was rough.
Not great, but Sonic actually seemed to do pretty well in terms of incorporating game stuff.
Okay.
People pointed out the rings, Sonic's speed, all the essentials.
Yeah.
And one reviewer even said that you don't need to know the games to enjoy the movie.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, it works as a standalone story.
Okay, so that's key for reaching a wider audience.
Absolutely. Now, for the diehard fan, they love the little nods to the games.
Like what specifically?
The classic Sega logo at the beginning and the retro-style end credits.
Oh, yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, pure nostalgia. But one person did say they wished the movie was more creative.
Oh.
Beyond just referencing the games directly.
Yeah, I get that.
They wanted something fresh, too.
Yeah, I think it's always a balance with adaptations.
Totally. You gotta please the fans, but also try to do something new.
Exactly, and the director Jeff Fowler actually said they put those references in there specifically for the fans.
So it was a conscious choice.
Yeah, they wanted to reward the longtime fans.
That's cool. So who is this movie really made for?
What was the target audience?
Most people agreed it was primarily aimed at kids, a family film.
Okay.
But a lot of parents said they enjoyed it too.
Yeah, I think it worked well for both.
Yeah, family fun for everyone.
Exactly. But there was some criticism about the humor.
Yeah, some people found it a bit too childish.
Really?
Like the fart jokes.
Oh, yeah.
One person called it an insult to the adults who grew up playing the game.
Ouch.
So finding that right level of humor for kids and adults can be tough.
Absolutely. It's a delicate balance. And don't forget, the movie was rated PG.
Right.
And it's pretty short, only an hour and 39 minutes.
Definitely geared towards families. All right, so let's get technical. What stood out visually and sound-wise?
Yeah, I mean, we already talked about that initial CGI design controversy.
Oh, yeah, but thankfully they fixed it.
They did.
Everyone agreed the improved CGI was a huge improvement.
That's good.
Yeah, and they did a good job blending the live action and animation.
It looked pretty seamless.
Yeah, they nailed it the second time around, and there were also comments about the colorful cinematography and the fast pace.
Which makes sense for a Sonic movie.
Right, lots of energy and movement, and for the audio, they used immersive sound formats like Dolby Digital, Dolby Atmos.
Oh, yeah.
So if you saw it in theaters with a good sound system,
Yeah.
it must have been really cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. So did the movie leave us hanging, or did it hint at more to come?
Oh, they definitely left some breadcrumbs.
Okay, tell me more.
So in the mid-credit scene, we see Dr. Robotnik stranded on the mushroom planet.
No way.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Now bald with the classic mustache from the games.
Wow.
And he's clearly planning his revenge.
Oh, man, they're setting up a sequel.
Big time. And then in the post-credit scene, they introduce Tails,
No way.
Sonic's little buddy from the games.
That's so cool.
Yeah, and one reviewer said someone in their theater actually squealed when Tails appeared.
I bet.
Yeah, people love Tails, and one reviewer even said they hoped the sequel would step things up from the first movie.
Yeah, raise the stakes.
Exactly. So it seems like they have big plans for this franchise.
That's exciting. All right, let's wrap things up with some behind-the-scenes tidbits.
All right, so Jim Carrey said that a lot of the original script dialogue didn't make it into the final movie.
Really?
Yeah, and they gave him a lot of freedom to improvise, especially in the physical comedy scenes.
I mean, that makes sense.
Yeah, they basically gave him an outline and let him do his thing.
Yeah, they trusted his comedic genius.
Exactly. And you know what else is cool?
That's that.
The reason Jim Carrey took the role was because his daughter was a huge Sonic fan when she was growing up.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Yeah, it was a personal connection for him.
That's really cool.
And for the longtime fans, they even snuck in a cameo from Gary Chalk.
Who's that?
He voiced Dr. Robotnik and Grounder in the old Sonic cartoons.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he played the Navy Chief of Staff in the movie.
That's awesome. They really put in some effort for the fans.
They did, and of course we can't forget the writers Pat Casey and Josh Miller and the composer Tom Holkenborg, aka Junkie XL.
Yeah, it takes a village.
It really does. So thinking about this whole journey from that initial design backlash to the redesign to the positive reception and the sequel setup, it's a pretty amazing story.
Yeah, it really is. And it shows how much power fans can have.
Absolutely right. So let's do a quick recap for you. Sonic the Hedgehog, 2020, it started rough with that first design.
Oh, yeah.
But they fixed it, and it ended up being a fun, family-friendly action comedy.
Yeah.
Some people had issues with the plot and the humor, but everyone loved Jim Carrey and the visuals.
Yeah, I think they did a good job overall.
Yeah, they brought those classic Sonic elements to life and set things up for more movies.
So overall, a success.
I'd say so. All right, so here's a final thought for you to ponder. Thinking about that initial negative fan reaction and then the turnaround after the redesign,
Yeah.
what does this tell us about the power of fan feedback in movies? Like, how much influence can fans actually have on these big productions?
Yeah.
And how might this change the way they adapt our favorite games and stories in the future?
It's a good question.
It really is, and it's something to keep in mind as we see more and more of these adaptations hitting the big screen.
Yeah, because who knows what they'll try to adapt next.
Right, the possibilities are endless.
That's right. And with fans having a voice, who knows how those adaptations might turn out.
Exactly. So keep those voices loud and let's see what awesome movies they make next.
That's right. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into Sonic the Hedgehog.
Catch you next time.
See ya.